Everyone is able to hear me and everyone is able to see my screen. If possible, can someone please confirm if you are able to hear me clearly and able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So what we discussed so far in yesterday class. In yesterday class, we were able to bootstrap count component in the details component. Okay, right? We already created a count component and we bootstrap the count component inside details component. So what we have done, we sent 3 input variables: male count, female count, all count. There are 3 input variables which are going from details component to count component. Let me repeat. We have created 3 variables: email count, male count, female count, as well as all count. We are sending this data to count component via @input. So what is the use with that? Whenever there is a change in the list component, like when I click on refresh button, 2 new employees are getting added, one for male, another for female. Automatically, all count changed, male count changed, as well as female count is changed here. 3 counts are changed, which automatically reflected the data, which automatically reflected the count component. So whenever a list component, where we have a list component, whenever there is a change in the list component, we are sending the data to count component. That is what @input we were able to see. We already see in the visiting component, but in the count, in this example also we have seen. Now today my focus is @output. That is, I want to go further. Okay. Before I proceed further, any questions, anyone so far, guys, as of now? As of now, anyone, any question so far before I proceed further? Okay, good, guys. Now, what is @output, guys? What is the meaning of @output here? Okay, I want to write a running notes here. @output. When we have an event in component 1, something like count component. We have an event, right, guys, here in count component, that is component 1. And with this event, change will happen in other component. That is component 2, the list component. Then we can send this event to detail list component via @output. Generally, @output will send the event from one component to other component. This is the meaning of @output, guys. What is @output, guys? I have an event in component 1, guys. Typically, I have an event in component 1. And there is no impact in the component 1. With that event, there is no impact on the component 1. But when the event is performed, it should change the data in the list component and the component 2. We have an event in the component 1. With that event, change in data in component 2. Component 1 event will trigger in component 1. Event will trigger in component 1, but the change is in component 2. We need to send the event from component 1 to component 2. We need to send the event from component 1 to component 2. When component 1 event is happening, at the rate of output will send the event. At the rate of output is going to send the event to component 2, so that the change is going to happen here. So that is what I told here. Angular will take care of component to component communication. Input is taking the value. Input is sending the value. One input value, it will send from component 1 to component 2. At the rate of output is event. It will broadcast the event from component 1 to component 2 here. So that is where we'll use output, guys. Let me repeat here. Output means we have an event in component 1, that is count component. What is the event here? Radio change and is event, right, guys? We have a radio change is an event, right? I clicked all, then I clicked male, then I clicked female. Am I right? Radio change and is an event, right, guys? So we have an event in component, that is a count component. And with this event, change will happen in other components. The change is happening in other component, that is component 2. Then we can use at the rate of output here. Okay? That is what I am going to implement here. Okay, guys? So let me implement over here, guys. So let me run this code. Right? Yeah. So localhost 4200. This is my page, guys. Sir, by default, all 3 radio buttons are unchecked, guys. All 3 radio buttons are unchecked. I want to load the page, default page, with 1 radio button as checked. All I want to check it. Default enabled. All should be enabled. What I want to do, sir, whenever page is loading, I want to pre-populate that all radio buttons should be checked, so that all employees I'm displaying. That makes sense, right? First, I need to add a code. How to load the page, default page, with 1 radio button as checked. How to do that, guys? How I can make a radio button should be checked? How I can do that?
Checked.
We have a property called as checked, right, guys? We have a property called as checked, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take care of, okay, here in our count component, I want to declare a variable here. selected radio button value. Selected radio button value, which is of type string, is equal to all. Which is of type all. I declared a variable, selected radio button value, which is of type string, and whenever I click on male, I'll choose male. Whenever I click on female, I'll choose female. But this is a default value which I want to take care here. How to pass this value to our HTML, guys? How to pass this? I explained two-way data binding. In data binding topic, I explained, right? NG model, isn't it? So input type is equal to radio, name is equal to options, value is equal to. After that, how to add a two-way data binding? Is this correct, right? NG model, correct? Selected radio button value. And I want to write this for all the things here. Which is checked, that only will come here. Default, I am assigning select radio button value as all. And I want to keep the value in HTML. If I checked male, then selected radio button will become male, right? If I click female, selected radio button will become female, right? If I change here, what is the two-way data binding? A change in HTML automatically reflects in TypeScript. A change in TypeScript automatically reflects in HTML. A change in HTML automatically reflects in TypeScript. A change in TypeScript automatically reflects in HTML. You no need to write a code. No need to write property binding. No need to write event binding. No need to do string interpolation. Angular is internally introducing two-way data binding, which square bracket, parenthesis, and NG model. That is a two-way data binding. And I have declared this value here. Now you see here, guys. How to do this, guys? There is an error. Whoever is practicing, they can only solve this. Cannot bind NG model. How to bind this, guys?
At the rate of input.
No. No. Forms module. Right? Because we got error right that time. When I'm explaining for two-way data binding, we got error that time. Right? We need to import forms module because NG model is part of forms here. Right? Yes or no, guys? Now, by default, when the page is loaded, all is selected, right? For example, if I'm changing to male, this is the value, right, guys? If I'm changing to male, now male is checked, right? Isn't it, guys? If I'm changing to female, is that right? Female is by default checked, right?
Sir, why we have to make the changes in both places, sir?
We are not doing change in both places, sir. What is a two-way data binding? A change can happen in HTML as well as change can happen in TypeScript, right?
Right, sir.
Two-way data binding automatically take care about that. Okay? By default, I can have a change in TypeScript that should be cascaded to HTML. I can have a change in HTML that can be cascaded to TypeScript. Without writing a code, two-way data binding will take care of that action. Just I'm showcasing I change the value in TypeScript and automatically the value is impacted. Just I am showcasing here. Okay. By default, I'm pre-populating with all. So we are good here. Now,
Right.
what we need to do, sir, next is I need to have an event here. We need to have an event here. If I click all, if I click male, if I click female, what I clicked, I need to get it. Whether I clicked all should come. If I clicked male, male should come. If I click female, female should come here. So what I'm doing here, I will add a code which is change event, which I'm going to have a change event here. Event binding, right? Radio change is change event. We already discussed, right? Event binding is bracket, parenthesis. On radio button change, I'm going to have event binding. Whenever I click all, that will be triggered here. Whenever I click female, that will be triggered over here. Whenever I'm making here, it will be triggered over here. Now I need to add a code on radio button change here. Here I'm going to add here on radio button change console.log of clicked radio button value or clicked radio button is this dot selected radio button value, right? Correct, right, guys? Now I'm going to console. I clicked male. You saw, guys? Click radio button value is male. You're able to see that? Maybe I'll add a small space over here. Right. Click radio button is female. You saw that? Click radio button is male. Click radio button is all. Just you are capturing what value. Now how is it coming, sir? Two-way data binding, right? Now I changed this value at HTML. I've changed this value to HTML. Automatically update to TypeScript, right? That is two-way data binding. That's why intentionally I've taken two-way data binding, because I am logging selected radio button value. And whenever I select that, whenever I selected this, selected radio button value becomes that value is sent here. That is the meaning of two-way data binding.
Sir, in the regular Java world or Spring MVC world, we have the controller, right, sir? Whenever we do some changes on HTML, the controller gets invoked and then it sends the data back to UI. So we don't need to have those type of things here, sir. Directly, the two-way binding will take care of those controllers and everything inherently, right, sir?
By default, it's not mandatory that whenever I do a change, it should hit controller. I can write JavaScript also. I can write TypeScript or Java, anything I can write. It's not mandatory that we need to have a controller. It's an old system where we need to have a controller. Nowadays,
Okay.
JavaScript is existing REST API and REST API is getting the data. Now, Angular is that only, right? In legacy world, in Spring MVC legacy world, because why we need to hit a controller, I need to get the data from database, right? Whenever I click at something, I need to get the data from database. Can JavaScript interact with database? HTML interact with database? No, right? That's
No.
why MVC architecture came. And whenever I hit it, it will go to controller. Controller will hit service. Service will hit database. That's the old architecture. It's a legacy.
Right.
Now, we don't want that legacy. Correct, right? In modern architecture, I can hit a REST API. And REST API will provide the data for you. And REST API can be built on any language. Any language. Now Angular, I'm hitting this. On hitting this, I make a Spring Boot call, right? Spring Boot will give a JSON response and you can bind the response. Okay. So
Okay.
it's a transformation on the language side. It's not mandatory that you need to hit controller. Okay.
Right.
But here,
Okay.
what is important here? It's not about the behavior. It's about how you selected the value, which value you are coming to business logic, how the HTML value is coming to business logic. That is handled by two-way data binding. That we need to understand, guys. Okay. Here, HTML value automatically upgraded TypeScript. In our legacy world, you need to write document.getElementID on change of this. I need to collect it. But that ID, that entire things are taken care by Angular framework with the help of two-way data binding. Okay. Right. Now, so what is my requirement, sir? Now I captured, guys. Okay. Now I captured whether I clicked all, whether I clicked male, whether I clicked female, right? But count component doesn't have any impact, right, sir? Count component doesn't have any impact. I need to tell to list component. I need to tell to list component, hey, there is a female option is checked. There is a female option is checked. There is a all option is checked. We need to send the event. We need to send the event. Whatever the event happening in the count component, we need to send the event to list component. We need to send that output at the rate of output. We need to write the code. What we need to write here? At the rate of output, I want to send this event, male value, female value, all value, whatever the value I have, right? That I want to send it. That I want to send. When I need to send it? Whenever event is performed. When an event is performed, during an event, output will be sent. The value of male or a female or all. That value is sent to list component. That code I need to write here. Okay? Right. Now, what I'm going to do here, I need to write at the rate of output. Okay? Which I need to write here. At the rate of output. Okay? Which is part of Angular core only. This is also part of Angular core only, automatically imported. And my event name, count radio button selection changed. Any name you can write here. You can write any name. Vijay event, Ashok event, product event. But event name should be some count radio button selection changed. Whether all is, male is, something like, which is of event emitter. This is an interface which is given by the Angular, which will emit the event. The event name is count radio button selection change is the event name, which is of type event emitter. What value it is emitting? String. All, male, female. It's a string value, right? All, male, female. That's a string value is equal to new event emitter of string. This is what I initialize. Okay. So what I'm telling, sir, I am initializing at the rate of output, sir, here. I am initializing at the rate of output here. Okay. What is the meaning of at the rate of output, guys, here? I want to make sure that I need to send the event to the list component to the count component. I want to send the event from 1 second, guys, 1 second. Right. I'm sorry. So my event name is count radio button selection changed, which is of type event emitter. What is an event emitter, guys? Event emitter is an event which will emit actually, which is going to emit. Event emitter is an emit which is going to emit the event here. And what type of value it is emitting? What type of value it is emitting? It is emitting a string value. It is emitting a typical string value here. It is typically emitting a string value here. That is event emitter, which is taking care. Give me 1 second, guys. 1 second, please. 1 second. Right. So by default, what I'm going to do typically, what I'm trying to take care here is, okay. So at the rate of output is going to transfer the event from component 1 to component 2, which is going to transfer and which is taking care of transferring the event here. Sir, what type of event? Why we need to do that? Because typically we have a change in event. We have a change in event, that event to be transferred to other component. That's why we are using at the rate of input here. I mean, at the rate of output, we are going to use here. So that's the purpose where we are going to use at the rate of output over here. Okay, right here. Now I'm going to write a code here. Typically, I'm going to write a code over here, which will take care of this case here. Okay, right. Now, what I want to do is, whenever this radio button is changed, this event is triggering, right, guys? Here only I want to emit the event. This dot count radio button selection change dot emit. This is the event, emit. It will emit the event. What value it is going to emit? This dot selected radio button value, it is going to emit here. This dot selected radio button value, this is going to emit over here. So clicked radio button is, this is selected radio button value, and which is going to emit the event. This is selected radio button value. It is going to emit the event here. Okay. So whenever a radio change is happening, it will emit the event. On emitting the event, who should grab this event, guys? Who should grab this event? List component should grab this event, right? Count component is emitting an event. Count component is emitting an event, which will be taken care by list component. Am I right? Count component is emitting an event, which is to be absorbed by the list component. It should be absorbed by the list component. How to do that here? Here, I want to do here. What is my event name, guys? What is my event name? What is my event name, guys? Count radio button selection change, right? This is my event name, which is equal to, this is my event name, guys. This is my typical event name, which I created this event. And when this event is performed on employee radio change, which I'm going to write, where I'm going to pass event here, $event. Let me explain this, guys. Very, very careful. I'm requesting everyone, please concentrate now in the class. Don't distract. I'm requesting everyone, It's an important topic which I'm teaching everyone. Kindly keep your focus here right now. Okay? What I'm telling here, I'm bootstrapping the count component. I'm mentioning input variables as well as output. Both the things I'm going to mention. Input as well as output. Input values as well as output values, which I'm going to mention. And count radio button selection changed. This is the event name I have. This is a typically event name. When this value will be, when I have this event, whenever count component is changed, radio button is changed, that time this value is emitted. When that is emitted, it is going to call on employee radio change. This is going to call on employee radio change. So, which I'm going to write here. On employee radio change, where selected event, right? What I'm going to take here, selected radio button value, which is of type string, which returns void console.log count component emitted value or count component selected radio button value. This selected radio button value. Okay. Now I will remove this count component console.log. I don't require here. I'm going to keep this particular log here. Let me repeat, guys. I created a count component event emitter, a custom event that will be emitted whenever radio button is changed. And that value is emitted. When that event is emitted, it is going to call this event, and this event I'm going to call. Okay. So when this value is executed, when this console will come, sir? When this console.log will come? Any idea from anyone?
On
When?
button click.
On radio change, not button click. On radio change, this value should be printed. Right, Javed is correct. On radio change, not button click. How? Because on radio change, please observe, guys. On radio change, on radio button change will call. On radio button change, I am emitting an event. This event is emitted, this value will be there. When this event is emitted, it is going to call on employee radio change, and it is going to print the value. Interviewer is going to ask you to write a code. Take two components and send the event and get the event. Capture the event component 1, retrieve the event in component 2. You need to write this code. If any Angular developer coming to me, I will ask this question. Okay? How he is attempting, how he is writing. I will confuse 1,000 times. If he is strong, he will never confuse. That's the reason I requested everyone to practice. I'm not telling intentionally. If you don't practice, you will never learn anything. Okay? Right, Javed now, he is understanding everything. That's why he is able to answer my questions, because he is daily practicing. I appreciate Javed Khan because he responds to me. Others also may be practicing, but I mean, just like he is responding to every time, I'll appreciate his efforts. Okay? Right. I will showcase this, guys. Now I'm going to showcase this. Okay? I'm pre-populating. Now I click mail. You saw, guys? Count component selected radio button value is mail. You saw that? I clicked on female. Count component, selected radio button value female. All. Count component, selected radio value all. You're able to see that, guys? Male, female, all. You're able to see that? Sir, I have an event in the count component, but I wrote the code in the list component. Count component is executing an event in the list component. Is that correct? Count component is executing the code in the list component. Is that correct or not? Everyone is clear, or do I need to explain once again, guys? As of now, any questions from anyone so far? As of now, anyone having any questions, guys? Right.
No, sir. Sir, can you repeat once again?
Sure. I'll repeat once again. That's what I told. Please focus everyone here. Okay. I am repeating again, guys. What is at the rate of output, sir? What is the meaning of at the rate of output? I have an event in component 1, which is a count component. And with this event, change will happen in other event. That is list component. So we'll send the event with at the rate of output. Generally, at the rate of output will send the event from one component to another component, right? In our example, I want to use at the rate of output on a radio change. Which is the event for me? Radio change is the event. Whenever I selected male, I change to female, or I change to all. Then I will emit the event via at the rate of output, and I want to call list component. I want to hit list component. So that is what I'm doing here. So what I did here, in count component, I declared at the rate of output custom event name. Custom event name. Any name I can write here. Ashok IT event, Vijay event, product event, account event, payment event, anything you can write, which is of type event emitter. In my scenario, I only like string, whether all is clicked or male is clicked or female is clicked. In upcoming examples, I'll tell you how to emit JSON object also. We can emit JSON object also, guys. But as of now, I don't want to complex. As of now, I'm sending string value. And when I need to emit the S, whenever a radio change is happening on change, then it is going to emit the event. I'm going to emit this value. Okay? And how I'm capturing the event emitter name, which is going to call automatically on employee radio change, where on employee radio change is going to call them. Make sense? Everyone is clear? Sir, the one who asked just now, can you repeat once again? Is it clear? I didn't saw the name.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. Any
Sir,
other questions
count-
from in?
Sir, count is like operation, sir, or is it like a component, sir?
What is the count, sir? What exactly count is? What is the count? Which count you are talking?
Usually count in the Java world is a function, right, sir? It returns like into value like that.
In Java world, do you have a count keyword?
Like we have something like sum, count, aggregate functions, database world also.
It's a count star in the database world, not in Java world.
Right, sir.
It is in database world. Sum, average, minimum,
Right.
maximum. Count is not count star. Okay.
Right, sir.
Right. Now, what is the question? Yes. What is your question?
In Angular, is it like aggregate type of function, or is it a component here, sir?
First of all, what you understand, sir, here? What you understand in the count? What exactly you understood now? on a count. Forget about database, forget about aggregate function. Now, from this example, what you are able to understand from a
So
count?
we are clicking that radio button, right, sir? We are capturing those emitted values.
Correct. Okay. After that, what we are doing? After we capturing?
We are storing in this business logic, sir, in the TS file.
Which TS file? Where is the event? Which TS file I'm saving?
That EMP details component or TS, sir.
And we from where the event is coming?
HTML, sir, UI.
I'm not talking about HTML. Which component? Event is coming from which component?
Those radio buttons, sir, all, female, male, those 3 radio buttons.
I'm asking component name, sir. Count component.
Count component, sir. Right. Yeah.
Right? Now,
Right.
what is the count?
Component,
What is the
sir.
count here? It's a component, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So we can call anything as component in that way, right, sir? In the Angular world.
In the day one, I started Angular. What is a component in Angular? The day one I told, what is a component in Angular? Why we'll use a component? What is a component in Angular, sir? What is the use of component? Why we are writing component? What exactly the component?
Right, sir. It basically aggregates the data, sir. Whatever the input.
I don't need an aggregation, sir. I don't need an aggregation. Don't I use a component?
Right, sir. Yeah.
I don't need an aggregation, sir. I don't need an aggregation. Just I want to use it. Okay.
Right, sir. Yeah.
Just like I don't want to comment on that. Okay. I don't want any further here. A component is in legacy world, any page you want to construct, JSP page, HTML page, any page in your legacy world, in Angular world will create a component. A component is HTML, CSS, and TypeScript. This is a component. Okay.
Right. Right.
I'm
sir.
really so sorry. I don't
So
have a word. Okay.
So these count, these type of things are like subcomponents, right, sir? We can call them subcomponents.
I don't know, sir, how I need to tell you. Okay. How I don't know how to tell you. We don't have a concept of subcomponents. We don't have a concept of subcomponent. First, if you
Okay,
know
sir.
component, then you understand subcomponent. Okay.
Right,
I
sir. When we
basics
say
your
TS, HTML, CSS as a component, those are very high level, right, sir? So one HTML might have hundreds of different other components like button component, radio button, or any other drop downs. You know, those are all again subcomponents, right, sir? I think we are using the terminology very, very generic way, sir. Very, very raw manner.
Yeah. You understood the point here?
Right, sir. Right, sir.
So, Mr. Praveen or I forgot your name. Okay. Please practice. Component, what exactly you learn from the component. If you practice, then only you'll come to know. You are using the terminology very generic. That is nowhere. Radio button is not a component. Radio button is a control.
Right,
You
sir.
are
Right.
thinking something, you are assuming something, you are asking something. That all confusion will come if you don't practice. Radio button is not a component. Text
Right,
box is not a component. Button is not a component. It is a control.
Control. Okay, sir.
Don't confuse everyone. Don't waste the time here. Please, you can ask the question, but that question should be meaningful. It should be meaningful. Okay. Right. I'm sorry, guys. People are asking me. Okay, that's fine. I'm sorry that, but I need to respond to everyone. Okay. Right. As of now, any questions here, guys? On component to component, we can we add difference between? Okay. Right. So Javed is asking to take a notes. It's a good point. Okay. I will write input and output notes, guys. It's a good point. I missed it actually. It's a good point. I'm going to write at the rate of input. Why? When we'll use at the rate of input, guys? when we want to transfer the data from component 1 to component 2, then we can use at the rate of input. But the data transfer will happen only on ng on init, but not in constructor. That's what I told, right? In the visiting card component. Okay? ng on it only we can, the difference between ng on it constructor we discussed, right? In visiting card component we have, right? Okay? Now what is the difference here? At the rate of input used to transfer the data from component 1 to component 2. At the rate of output used to transfer the event from component 1 to component. At the rate of input is used to store the data from component 1 to component 2. At the rate of output is used to store the transfer the event. That is at the rate of output. This will happen through event emitter. This will happen through event emitter. It can emit a string value. It can emit a JSON value. Anything it can emit. Okay. Yes, it can be done vice versa also, guys. It can be done vice versa, guys. Component 1 to component 2, component 2 to component, anything you can do. But if you do that right, circular dependency will come, right? In real time, you have a circular dependency will come. Generally, Angular framework will take care. What Javed is asking, component 1 to component 2 I can do. Can component 2 to component also can I do? You can do. Angular is not stopping you, but you will only have a circular dependency, right? Generally, a change will happen in component 1. That event should be to going to component 2. But component 2, anything is changed, going back to component 1, that's a problem. I mean, it's a missing in a design. But Angular will not do anything here. We can do that actually. Yes, Ritvika, correct. Event emitter is the difference. At the rate of output is emitting the event. Emitting the event. The output will be a JSON object, a string object, anything, but it will be transferring event emitter. But whereas input is in a component is loaded, input is going to capture. But here on event emitter is on event. That's the only point. Okay. Right.
So it is
Ritvika,
more like in a MQ world, like a producer consumer type of thing, right, sir?
yeah. Yes, exactly.
Right.
In a backend,
Right.
you call this as an event driven. In
Right.
front end, we call this as an event. In the backend, what? When I push the data to the queue, that is an event for me. It is similar to an event. That is what I covered in event driven architecture. Yes, exactly. Okay. When I have an
Yes.
event in the front end, on a click of a button, on a change of a button, on a load of a page, anything, that is an event for me. In a backend world, event is I did some change, I'm pushing the data to the queue, and queue should respond to me. That is the point. Okay. Right here.
Right.
Javed, are you clear on this difference? And you're comfortable on the notes, right? Ritika, are you comfortable, ma'am? Yeah. Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Now, what I'm going to do here, I was able to capture this guys here. I was able to capture the selected radio button value. I was able to capture here. Now, what I am going to do here, what exactly I'm going to do here, I want to take the value here. I want to create a variable here. Okay. I want to create a variable over here. The variable name will be selected radio button value, which is of type string. Is equal to, I am initializing. I want to assign the value. This dot selected radio button value is equal to this value. I am transferring the data to this variable. Now I have this value here, right? Now what I can do here, guys, I have a here, right? I have a gender, right? If I clicked male, I have the male. I can filter based on that, right, guys? I can filter that, right? Using selector radio button. Using selector radio button, I can filter this value, right, guys? Okay. So what I am going to do is I need to filter the UI part. If all is there, I should display all employees. If male only comes, I should filter male value. If a female only comes, I should filter female value. Right? That kind of filter I need to write here. So which I can use here? ng if I can use, right? Star ng if. If condition I can write, right, guys? Employee dot gender is equal to selected radio button value, either male or female. Then the value will be automatically displayed, right? But here, sir, I already wrote for loop and I'm displaying the data. I want to apply one more star ng if here. So one DOM element I cannot write to Angular implementation. ng4 I am using already. I cannot use one more keyword. That is the Angular terminology. One DOM element always should contain only one for loop or whatever, one Angular function. So we need to use ng container whenever you want to write two conditions on one DOM element, on tr, td, table, span, div, on any of the DOM element, you want to apply two functions, two Angular functions. Okay, then you can use ng container. Okay, that is specially useful for that actually ng container. So which I am going to write code on tomorrow. Let me share the code over here, guys. I am going to write a logic on the ng container over here. Angular @output topic. Okay, maybe let me go to here. This is not employee details. The show criteria. Output code. My running notes. I'm sending in a zip. Output notes. I want to share here. Right, sir. Sir, is everyone is able to download the notes and everyone is able to extract the notes? And everyone is good, right? On the new platform
Yes,
and a
sir.
notes point of view. Yeah, cool. Generally,
Sir,
I prefer. Yeah,
sir,
go
in the
ahead.
old platform, there is no more notes, right, sir? Everything is here only, right, sir? New platform only, right, sir?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. Okay. Right. Just I'm telling guys, Google Classroom is a convenient tool, but for as a participant point of view, you have a recording sessions here, and you're joining here. If you have a notes here, that will be useful for you. But the Google Classroom is everyday topic by topic, and the notes, and it will be some kind of good format. But as long as in one place you want everything, that is the intention over here. We are keeping here. Okay, right, guys. So tomorrow I will teach on what is the topic I'm going to teach tomorrow. For one DOM element, how to apply multiple conditions. That is the what topic I'm going to focus. 20 to 30 minutes I'll spend that. With that, this topic will be done. Then I am going to start directives. There's another important area, directives. After directives, I'm going to start life cycle hooks, then services, then REST calls, then forms. These are the upcoming topics which I have. Okay, right, sir?
Sir, I have a couple of questions, sir. Like in the console, we are debugging, right, sir? Like in Java, can we debug in that Visual Studio Code, sir, or that is not possible, sir? Like applying the breakpoints and step
No, sir.
over
This
those
is
step.
no. Those are not applicable here. Only you have a
Okay.
script debugger. You have a script debugger, but it's not that friendly as Java.
Got it.
On a
Okay,
point
sir.
of view, generally the best is you need to log console.log. I need to make it. Okay.
Okay, sir. Another question, sir. We use the bootstrapping, right, sir, very commonly. That means just executing, right, sir? Bootstrapping, like okay,
Bootstrapping means starting.
starting only.
Bootstrapping
Okay.
means initializing and starting. That is the meaning of bootstrapping. Whenever Angular is starting, right, main.ts will be bootstrap. Main.ts is bootstrapping first, root component. Root component is bootstrapping our own component. So bootstrapping means initializing and starting. That's the meaning of bootstrapping, right?
Makes sense, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.